So first, I just want to start by thanking everyone that made this possible. First off, we have Aiko, our co-founder of Jersey City Women. We all know her and love her. We have Mamta Singh, who helped us put this together. And we have Tal from Dvora, who gave her this generous, beautiful space. And then just keep it going for all our wonderful volunteers. You'll see them all around. Our panelists who have volunteered their time. And then give it up for yourselves and all of our attendees virtually. So while I have that, we're going to be live streaming this event, so I think everyone should know this is recorded. And thank you to all of our attendees virtually. So I just want to do a few introductions. My name is Monica Miterman Rodriguez. I am one of the co-founders of Jersey City Women with Aiko. And just quick background on Jersey City Women, we've been around for just about a year. It started when Aiko and I realized that there was just a lot of obstacles women were facing globally, but in Jersey City particularly. And yeah, that was heightened by the pandemic, but it's issues we've been facing long before then. And so we wanted to create a space just like this to bring women together, talk about what we're going through, and see how we can change that. And so we started Jersey City Women, and the ultimate goal is to create a commission on the status of girls and women. So whoever, if you don't know what that is, that's a national standard. It's a board, a committee. You'll see them in states and cities all over the country. And basically, they just listen to the community of women. They take in what women need, and then they speak to leadership, and they bring them together to make those changes. And we agree, and I think a lot of women agree, that's something we need here. So we're really pushing for that now, and it wouldn't be possible without all of you. So to kick that off and kick off that conversation, we're having this town hall. We had one earlier this year virtually that was incredibly successful, and we're so appreciative of everyone sharing their voices. And from everything we collected from that virtual town hall, we collected those questions, and we realized, let's bring them all together in one room. And so here we have our wonderful panelists, our leadership in Jersey City, and we want to hear from them about what their experiences have been like and what their obstacles have been and what their plan is. But we also want to hear from you. What obstacles are you facing? What do you want to see change? So this is going to be a really constructive conversation, and we're really excited to see what comes of it. And from that, we have a little bit of housekeeping. I just want to make sure that this runs smoothly and respectfully. I think that's really important, something we all want. So Aiko and I will be moderating this event. We will be presenting questions that we received directly from women in the community, whether that was through past events, whether that was in person in conversation. We're just presenting questions we've heard. And we will be directing those at our panelists, whether it's directly at one person or generally, and we'll give them about 30 seconds to respond. And our questions are going to be about the past experiences in Jersey City, the current situation that we're looking at, and then what do we want to see in the future? That's the format of this event. Between each section, we will open up the microphone, you'll see back there. We're going to bring it to the front, and we highly encourage that people come up and speak and engage. That's what we want here. But again, we expect everyone to do so respectfully. We will not tolerate any kind of disrespect or any kind of abrasive language. We hope that this can be something that we continue to do in the future. Oh, and for the panelists, we're going to be presenting the questions, and then we have our lovely volunteer who will hand you the mic. So we'll be passing that back and forth. Oh, just raise your hand. Yes, thank you. And one last thing, bathrooms are that way, and trash is that way. All right? And with that, we have Tal from Dvora, who just wants to say a few words.
Hi. I know that we have a busy evening, so I'm not going to take too much of your time. Thank you for coming. We're excited to have you here at our Dvora Hall. Dvora, just to let you know, it's a beehive. The idea is to bring everyone to the beehive, our resident, our community, our vendors, anyone that we work with. So we're excited to have you here. We're thrilled about your organization. I have myself so many questions, so I'm looking forward to ask you tonight and be more involved. Welcome, everyone. Enjoy this space. Any questions, let me know. We're happy to have you here.
And with that, a few words from Mamta Singh.
Thank you, Monica. She already said few words, but I had planned to go over for at least 30 minutes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mamta Singh. I'm Executive Director for JC Families, largest family community in Jersey City. I'm also elected official committee member. I want to say official because finally I'm elected. So thank you for coming out tonight, and I hope This event motivates you, most of you to get active in local politics. So thank you again, everyone.
And one last piece before I pass this off to Aiko. I think it's really important that everyone recognizes Jersey City Women is a completely independent group. We have no affiliation with any candidates, with any parties. We're just here to bring a conversation, bring everyone together. So that's just something that I really want everyone to understand. We're just here to just amplify everyone's voices. All right, and now we have Aiko.
So thank you again, everyone, for being here. I'm so happy that you're all here. It's really my profound feeling that the first elected woman mayor is in this room tonight. And I feel that we're leading right now, we're paving the way for that woman, whoever that woman may be. Any of us here right now can be, and we have a spectacular leadership, and we're spectacular women running and spectacular women that have run. And so we're going to break it up into past, present, and future. Simple enough. And so we hope. And so the first one, it's going to be pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And wait, hold on. I think I forgot to introduce everyone, didn't I? So here we have our panelists. I'm so eager. So we begin, and if you can please, raise your hand, because I won't be able to follow it, but I'm going to begin with Madam Council President Joyce Waterman. She's here with us. Is the Council President for the City of Jersey City. She was first elected in 2013, and she is the first woman in 30 years to be Madam Council President. We have Hudson County Democratic Chair Amy DeGise. She also is a first. She's the first woman ever elected to the Hudson County Democratic Organization. She's a teacher, and she's running for councilperson at large. Councilwoman, yes, that's great stuff. So Councilwoman Denise Ridley, she's in Ward A Councilwoman, a lifelong Jersey City resident. She was first elected in 2017, and she's running for re-election in her ward. I saved my councilwoman for last, Councilwoman Mira Prinzari, Ward B. A local civic leader, avid supporter of the arts, first elected in 2017, and she's running for re-election. We have candidate Danielle Frede. I rolled the 2 R's. I was very nervous. I'm Puerto Rican, but I was practicing that. A lifelong Jersey City Heights resident. She's running for the first time and is seeking the seat for Ward D. We have candidate June Jones, president of the Morris Canal Development Corporation. And she is running for an at-large position. We have candidate Kristen Zadroga, teacher at McNair High School. She ran previously for the Jersey City Board of Education, and she's running for the Ward A seat. Trustee Gina Vertobello. She currently serves, she's a trustee in the Jersey City Board of Education, serves on the board of the Arts at Casa Colombo, and is former president of the Rotary Club of Jersey City. And she bought the Girl Scouts. So the Girl Scouts are here. She's a Girl Scout troop leader, paving the way for generations to come. Trustee Nuemi Velazquez, a former teacher and trustee in the Jersey City Board of Education, currently serves in Jersey City and was a former aide to Governor Phil Murphy. And last but certainly not least, Mariah Kimberg, a Jersey City resident since 2017. She's a community advocate and a former Ward G candidate. So that is our panel, and we have the room full of dignitaries, esteemed people in the room. Thank you so much for coming, and we're so happy to have you here. To begin, so this question is a general question we're going to go down the line, and that would be, please share with us why you are running for elected office, or why did you seek elected office, and what would you like to accomplish in the first 100 days of your tenure? We'll begin with Ms. Jones.
Jersey City needs a change. There's things that I think our community is in desperate need of that has not been addressed, not only recently, but in the last 8 years. I did not set out to be a politician. I still don't consider myself one, but I guess I will be once I'm entering the race and take that seat. The purpose of me doing this is because of my past experiences of being family being a victim of environmental injustice, being a large family, struggling. I am the 7th child of 10 children that my parents raised, and they did it as hard workers. My dad died as a result of mesothelioma. He worked with asbestos, and the employer knew that the people who worked with it was working with a cancer-causing agent. That led to my work in the community with the brownfields and environmental cleanup. And I'd like to see some of those things permanently addressed and rightfully addressed. And for those injustices, my justice is to take office to make sure that there's mandates to prevent those things from happening. And with the housing issue, 10 children, you need affordable housing. And there's some place for families to go and to be raised appropriately. Thank you.
Hey. Well, I'm not running for office, but I absolutely support everything that June said. So thank you, and I'm so glad that you're doing this. And I do applaud, all of the women here who are running for office. From my experience, it is extremely difficult to run for office, and it's extremely difficult to run for office as a woman. And I think as a woman of color, it's even harder. And so, taking that risk, putting yourself out there, I just commend all of you for doing that and being a public servant. That is one of the most amazing things that you can do for your community, and I just respect that decision. I did want to say, when I first moved to Hudson County to Jersey City, one of the things I noticed is we had all these elections where people were running uncontested. And I thought that was so strange. It was like we'd have an election and there'd be nobody, just one person. And how is that an election? And when I started to dig deeper, I found out that the voter turnout was extremely low. We had 10 to 15% voter turnout. It's like, what is going on here? And so I started to get involved in local politics, and I ran for my county committee seat and I ran for city council. And what I found is that politics in this area is toxic. There is a toxic culture. And I think that when you're a woman and when you're a woman of color, that toxic culture is even worse. And so I really want to call on everyone in this room and the leadership in the Democratic Party and the leadership on the city council to call out this toxic culture when you see it happening. Because elections are about issues. And that's what we need to be talking about. We need to have people come together to solve the problems in our community, not to tear each other down. So, thank you so much.
Thank you. Feels like a very loaded question for 60 seconds. I know that we're all just want to burst out everything that we want to say, but for me, it goes down to things that I'm passionate about. I'm an educator. I'm surrounded with youth. I work with workforce development. I've worked with the youth in our community for a while, and when your passions become so close to you, you want to advocate for them. And then that leads you to wanting a seat at the table, whether that's a seat at the table that you get to work with legislation or you get to work with leaders. And that's what kind of rode me here. Obviously people know that my dad is an elected official. I don't know how many of you know that my Aunt Lois was an elected official here as well. She was the first woman to be elected for the Jersey City Council. So I was raised around this, and your civic duty, your civic obligations, garnering the community up and empowering them and teaching other people how to advocate and mentor about whatever they're passionate about. And I would like to continue serving that. Jersey City is the only place I've ever known, only place I will know. Can't wait to raise my family here, and I hope that I can, become a part of that change. And it is hard for women. It's not as toxic when you can throw yourself into it and keep your character high and just keep plowing through. So I thank all of you for being here.
So yes, I'm currently serving a 3-year term on the Jersey Board of Education was elected last term. And I want to thank everyone for your votes. But I also want to say that I ran for the Board of Education in 2013, ran 4 times, lost, and just kept trying until I got on. So 2019, when I got appointed on the board, I ran again, I won, and then I ran again after that, because I only ran for a 1-year term. So I am your example of what it's like to run in Jersey City for women. And that's why, I brought my Girl Scouts tonight, because I want them to know that, this is your future. This is what I want you to do. And we've been advocating as well. We're not selling Girl Scout cookies. We're upset with the palm oil industry. So we have been out there advocating, and I want to show them what leadership is, and I want to encourage them to keep going to things like this and seeing that there is a chance to be an official, to be anything, to advocate for what you care about. So thank you.
Thank you, Gina. I am Kristen Zadroga Hart. I'm running for Ward A, which is south side of Jersey City. I have been an educator in the Jersey City Public Schools for 28 years. This is my 28th year. For the past 3 years, I've been the athletic director at McNair Academic. But for the 25 years previous to that, I've been working in the high school setting. It's called Zero Tolerance. It's with behavior disordered, basically students who have come through the criminal justice system and are coming back into school, or they've committed a crime that's so egregious that they're not supposed to be back in the school system. So as a teacher in that population, I have been to too many funerals. I have had too many students arrested. No one in their family to raise them. Their grandmothers raising them and their cousins, their brothers, their sisters. And just seeing that nothing is being done to support those students is what is really driving me. I don't want to attend another funeral. I don't want to see another student behind glass, even though the pandemic has kind of put a kibosh on that. But I don't want to visit another student who is serving a life sentence when they're 18 years old, 19 years old. We have to have more options for these students, and we have to be able to give them a better life, and that's really my main goal for running. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Danielle Frede. I was born and raised in Jersey City Heights, and I'm running because representation matters. I grew up and I didn't see any elected officials that looked like me. I was very inspired by the past year and seeing a lot of progressive women running for elected office. There's a lot of talent in our community, as we can see from the organizers of this event, as you can see from the amazing people that are here that have their own initiatives. And I want to be an example to show folks that you can run. It's not easy, but it's 100% worth it because you get to engage with your community. And I want to see a woman in City Council that holds and embodies progressive values that support affordable housing, to fight the climate crisis. Right now I'm a development director for an environmental justice nonprofit, and one that is actually speaking for her community and listening to the needs of their neighbors. So that's something that's very important to me, and that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies, and our gentlemen allies that have joined us this evening. I'm Councilwoman Denise Ridley, the Councilwoman for the Ward A section of Jersey City. Why did I decide to get into politics? So politics is something that I've always been interested in. I was always that person that was on student government, grammar school, high school, college. During college, I worked on campaigns. I attended Hampton University in Virginia. I worked on campaigns for delegates in Virginia. Delegates are equivalent to our assembly people here. And I've worked on campaigns with mayors there. Actually, the first campaign I worked on, and when I say this now to some younger residents, I realize that I'm getting older because of the look that they give me. But the first campaign I worked on was for Gore. And that was during, I believe it might have been my senior year of high school. and we worked on his campaign in this area. And, you know, ever since then, when I came back from high school, I worked on some school board campaigns and just helping local officials. I ran for committee person in 2013, and I've been the committee person in my area since 2013. And then I decided to throw my hat in the race in 2017 for council. One of the main reasons I decided to do that was because I saw that the city was beginning to change. I saw that more development was coming up to the Ward A area. I'm also a real estate agent, so I have experience with development and real estate. So I felt like we needed someone that was going to be able to understand the language, since we were the last area in Jersey City to see some of this development, and that wasn't going to be afraid of that. So my goal was to make sure that we're having smart development, to make sure that we are not pushing our longtime residents out, and that was my motivation for running. That's it in a nutshell. I don't want to take up too much time, but to all the ladies here that are running, I just want to say congratulations, because there are a lot of people that say a lot and, you know, have opinions, but you just stepping out and putting yourself out there is already a win. So thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mira Prinzari. I'm the councilwoman for Ward B, which is the west side of the city. My husband's from Jersey City. I'm from California originally. So when we moved here to help out my mother-in-law, I wanted to find ways to connect with people. And I started with my neighborhood association, and then that moved me to the Parks Coalition, and that moved me to the Jersey City Food Co-op at the time, and a number of other boards since then. So that's how I started to build out my community, is connecting to local leaders. And when you start doing this work in Jersey City, eventually the question comes around, well, when are you going to run for office? And at first I was like, I'm never going to run for office. And then I worked on a campaign. I had some conversations with my mother-in-law, God rest her. She was one of the women who founded the Jersey City and Hudson County chapter of the National Organization of Women back in the late 70s, early 80s, and was also one of the ones that said, okay, now that we've got our chapter, we have to go down to Trenton to make sure that we can be there to knock on their door. Because having access to your local leaders makes all the difference. You don't want to be necessarily on a phone call or an email on the other end where they can't see your face and speak with you directly. So the opportunity presented itself in 2017 to run. I had run for committee person. I've been the committee person since 2015 for my district. And one of the reasons why I decided to run was in our ward, there hadn't really been a consistency in leadership in a while. We don't have a lot of green and open space, and we didn't necessarily, Ward B had always kind of been described as like the sleepier part of town. Well, we are, no longer that part of town. That's changing as every city changes, and I felt like now's my opportunity to see if I'm going to be better in the community organizing space or in the legislative space, and to see which way I can best put my strengths to work. And so, I think it's really important for that kind of consistency in leadership. A lot of projects that we do in government take a long time. Infrastructure projects, development projects, parks and open space, things, Deb Italiano I've known basically since I've been in Jersey City, and we're still fighting fights when it comes to tree canopy and the like. And we don't always agree on things, but we're here to sit and talk about it. But the reason why I decided to run for re-election is to have that consistency. So a project that we're starting right now, like with the Skyway Park over where the Brownfields used to be, over by the 1 and 9, over by Marion Gardens. That's going to be a memorial park. We have a streetscape program that's going to be starting. That's going to take a couple years to move through. So you need somebody that's going to be able to shepherd projects through and make sure that the residents' concerns are addressed. Very quick story. When I first came in, a friend of mine called. She said, I've been working 10 years on this project. Nobody's ever been able to solve it for me. It was rebricking of a street. 8 months later, we were able to do it. And one of the reasons why is because it wasn't passed from person to person to person. So, and again, to everyone in this room, putting yourself out there is hard. You hear a lot about it. As women, we get critiqued so much harder than our male counterparts. So to everyone on this panel, that first step is the hardest step, but it's the most important step because other people will watch your footprints afterwards.
I'm Joyce Waterman. I am the first female African-American president. And the reason why I say that, just think about it. That only happened in 2019, because then we had the pandemic. So it took that long for them to elect a minority woman to be president. Now, I am a pastor. I've been pastoring over 25 years. So you want to know why I run? Because I really care for people. As a pastor, you hear about affordable housing, you hear about unemployment, you hear about the environment, you hear about the abuse, you really hear about everything. And I've seen that there's so much that I can do on the spiritual end. But then you have to go into the government end to really get people help. Just like Mira said, it takes a long time to get certain things done. It really does. Because you have to pass it from one person to the next, to the next, to the next. I run because I was so concerned about those who were less fortunate, and I have a prison background. I did prison ministry for over 25 years. I've been in the areas that no one wanted to go to. And so for me, every time I sit down and talk to the guys, I'm helping them understand that they deserve to be at the table. Women are nurturers. We have conversations that no one wants to have. And so for me to be at the table, I'm speaking for those that I speak on the sideline to that said that they can't read. So I'm trying to get them a place to read. See, when you get into this politics thing, it's bigger than just what we think. Because when you say you really care about people, you don't want to put all their business out in the street. You don't want them to feel like they less than. And so a lot of times I deal with people like that because no one really wants to be bothered. When it comes to affordable housing, you'd be surprised how many people I help get a place, trying to pick up a phone, trying to say, Lee, could you give them another chance? Not only that, being a pastor of a church, trying to give them finance to get it done. It's beyond me being a political leader. I'm a spiritual leader too, and I really care about people. You want to know why I want to run again? Because it takes time to finish this work. It really does. It's not as simple as people say. I see it all the time. People say a lot of things. And I would say, you know what? If you think you can do it that easy, just give me an idea. Because when you're in politics, you have to realize you're not the only one that have an idea. You have to have an ear to really listen. Sometimes people get upset when they can't get what they want. And I said, I understand it, but my hands are tied. But they don't look at that. And being a woman in this position, to be perfectly honest, what they do, and I watch it carefully, they pin us against each other. They do, and I watch it. I watch it in the news. I watch it, what they print. And a lot of times, you know, I don't respond because I said there are certain things I won't do. And I've learned I control my own destiny. I'm not looking for nobody to control it. I control my own destiny. When I came into this business, I had integrity and I was fair with everybody. When I leave, I will have integrity and I will be fair with everybody. I won't allow them to pin us against each other. I won't allow them for us to say horrible things about each other because I know it's difficult for women to run. I was the first woman who created the Hudson County Women-Democratic Organization of the state of New Jersey. I was the first one that did that because I seen the importance of women being in politics. Right now, I sit on the board of the New Jersey Women Political Caucus. I sit on that board as an at-large member because it's so important. I encourage women and paid for women to go to Sister Run. They have it in Run, Sister Run. Yeah, me and Naomi, we always be there. We pay for women to do that because we see the importance of women being into politics. I applaud all of them for running. To me, it's not a competition thing. If a woman get at the table, I know we're going to be heard. I'm telling you, that's the way I think. There's certain ways I really do think. So I'm running to just continue what I'm doing, to continue to help people, to continue to help affordable housing. I know about the environment. I know that's a state issue. I've been talking to the Assemblywoman about certain things. There's a whole big thing here. It's not as easy as people say, and I'm the one that's going to tell the truth. That's it. I'm going to tell the truth. That's it.
Amen. I'm Nuemi Velazquez, and I don't know if this is a panel or a committee of strong women. Yes. I've been active in the community, don't anybody laugh, since the Civil Rights Movement. I was 14 years old in my high school, organizing walkouts and sit-ins. And that was upstate New York. I continued to do that. I continued when I moved to New Jersey 45 years ago. I got involved in my community here as well. I then started to work with Latina women, okay? Because in as much as women are involved, many times Latina women are not heard, Latina women are not understood, and Latina women are not called to the table. Yeah. And if you don't believe me, look at the council.
That's true.
Anyway, so when I came here, I knew that this was a beautiful city. I would fall in love with the city, and I wanted to work for the city, and so I started working. What we started to do was organize women to help men run for office. How ironic.
You're right.
So eventually, there was a campaign where women from throughout the state, these were professional women. We had lawyers, we had doctors, teachers, we had women from all areas and all backgrounds to work for this one particular candidate that was running for governor. Oh, by the way, I have run for council with Tom DeGise, and then I ran for county executive against Tom DeGise. And he was very gracious. But anyway, moving along here, when we started working for that particular candidate for governor, one day, once he won, and we were again sitting around the table, we said, you know, we're always doing this for other people, for men especially, and we're just, you know, in our stilettos out there knocking on those doors. Well, this has got to stop. We need to keep our stilettos, but we need to knock the doors down for us. And we organized, we created an organization called Lupe. From Lupe, Latinas United for Political Empowerment, okay, that was a foundation. Then after that, we said, you know, we're doing a lot of civic duty, but we need to do things for our own women to run. So we started Elección Latina. Elección Latina. From there, then we had Run Sister Run, okay, and Rising Stars, which are the Asian sisters. Anyway, but with that in mind, we said, wait a minute, we keep doing this, but we need to support our women that are running for election. We need to support to raise funds. So we couldn't do it as Lupe Foundation, so we developed a PAC. Ladies, get ready. Yeah. We developed a PAC. And with this PAC, we're able to today support many women for anything from council up to Congress, Senate, we've just supported all Latina women and other women as well, okay? However, what happened? Just recently, we founded another organization, another Latina organization, okay? Latinas Action Committee. And the same thing, we will also have a PAC. We will also have an active committee, and we will also work for all women throughout the state. But ladies, let's wake up. And we don't have to start at council. We don't have to start at assembly. We don't have to start at the Senate. Let's start in our community. If you are a committee person is probably the most important person. Okay? So give that opportunity, okay, the merit that it deserves. Start a committee. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy. I wanted to give that moment to introduce yourselves and to really, everyone here to know you a little bit better than 30 seconds. And so now we'll begin with the questions when they'll be limited, and so how many people will participate. And we'll keep it between 30 and 45 seconds so that as many can answer. So I'm going to ask a specific question, and then between two people can add to that discussion, and then we'll move on to the next question, okay? So, Madam Council President, one of the things, I watch a lot of the council meetings. I don't always speak at them, but I always watch them. And I can remember very clearly in one instance when they were talking about affordable housing, and we were speaking with Councilman Lavaro was speaking, and you said something that was really struck me, and it really burned in my mind, and that was, you said, for 3 or 4 years I've been trying to get affordable housing on the table, and every time I try to get affordable housing on the table, nobody wanted to listen to it, and every time I brought it up, they would just sort of take it and throw it out. And when you said that, I believed you, because you said it with such passion and so much conviction at that time. So my question to you is two-part. Why do you think that was? Why do you think that as a woman and a woman of color, every time who was advocating for people of color and no likelihood that need affordable housing, or women, low-income people, why was it that no one wanted to listen to you? And do you think now, as Madam Council President, do you wield a little bit more power in really moving that agenda forward, knowing what you said is true, that everything does take time?
I dealt with affordable housing back in 2000, I think 16 or 17, because I had wrote an ordinance, if you go back, and then they withdrew it. And the reason why, when you write an ordinance, you have to get the support behind it. If any of the council people here, they just left. You have to get the support behind it. If you don't get the support behind it, a lot of times it's not even worth introducing it, because it's going to get voted down, to be perfectly honest. And at the time, nobody was focused on affordable housing like I was. They really wasn't, and I'm just telling you the truth. I had wrote it, and nobody wanted to hear about it. I wasn't the council president at the time. I wasn't. Nobody didn't want to hear it, because we were still dealing with tax abatements, and the way I had wrote the ordinance with the tax abatement, if you get a tax abatement, you would have to do 20% affordable housing. Now, you got to understand, when I wrote that, I was coming against so many other people, but I didn't have nobody fighting with me, and that's just the truth. And when everybody else is coming against you and you don't have the votes or the voice, the ordinance goes nowhere. But now, here we are, a couple of years later, to be perfectly honest, now everybody's really talking about affordable housing, which we need. I'm not saying we don't need it, but I was talking about it way back then, this before Mira and Denise even got on council. This is way before that. And nobody wanted to hear it at all. Now we at a place, because all this development is going on, we don't have the incentives like we once had back then, to get certain developers to do certain things, because you have to understand, when you're asking a developer to do something, you have to give him some type of incentive to do it, because after all, some of the property is his property. I don't write the redevelopment plans. I'm not a lot of times on the back end with some of this negotiation, where sometimes people think we are always there. We are not always there. Sometimes when we get it, sometime when we get it is the first time when we hear it, and then we have a meeting about it, or whatever the case may be. So when you're really dealing with affordable housing, you have to get the voices of the people. People are more engaged now in politics, and I think that happened because we had a shutdown. We had shut down, and we was in the house, so we kept seeing the different, things that was going on. So people were coming out, and they were saying they want this, when it started with George Floyd, and that brought people out into it. All right, so that's why. So that's why I didn't have the support like I once did. No, I didn't have the support then, and you need the support. You need the support to get anything passed, because you can see now when you watch us, if there's no support, it just dies down. And what we do have a conversation to see what each council person feel about that, because as the council president, you have to see what each ward is dealing with, because I'm not engaged in each ward like that. She's engaged in her ward, she's engaged in her ward, you know what I'm saying? And so when there's an issue, I have to go to them and ask them, what is your residents are saying? What is it that they want? I just don't make that decision.
Yeah. Hi. One of my passions is affordable housing. And affordable housing, we've been in an affordable housing crisis for a long time. It didn't just happen. And even prior to you coming, Council President, it's sad to hear you say that your colleagues were not interested in that. But as a council person, I think it's our responsibility to bring forth the issues of our community. And our community, it has a crisis. You know, the pandemic, I think, has brought out a lot of issues and has taught us some things that we need to pay more attention to, like space, green space, but affordable housing has always been there. Back in 2016, when that particular ordinance was thrown out, I think there was a lot of controversy about it, and that there was an agreement that we all were going to work on an affordable housing ordinance, an IZO, and that we did for many, many, many months.
Time, sorry.
So,
Time.
Excuse me?
We are giving 45 seconds to answer any question, please.
Are we using the same clock?
Yes.
I want to know. I just want to know. I'm just saying. I yield my time. I just want us to be. I just want us to be fair in the process, okay? So ding your ding for everybody, all right? All right. So all I'm saying is that we worked on an IZO, and just recently, the IZO that we worked on, just before it was able to come to be presented to the city council, the one that the community worked on, it was then beat out by Phillips' IZO, which had a lot of loopholes in it, as the community has expressed to the council. And then you passed that. You presented that and you passed that, in spite of what the community had asked for. So, well, you can play the tapes back. I don't want to get into a debate, but
Sorry, excuse me, just want to say that time
Can I finish my statement, President, because I let you finish yours? Okay, all I'm saying is that when that was presented, when Phillips ICO was presented, it was presented 2 weeks before we were going to present the community's ICO, that you said you were going to work on with us, that you changed your mind and voted with Philip instead. That's all.
So just want to say that, just respectfully want to say that we are not supporting any party or any candidate here. Time is same for everyone. We were just trying to be respectful, not saying it that it's time, but we'll follow it now. So everybody would get 45 seconds. Thank you.
Madam President, I know you want to with 45 seconds. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
So yeah, absolutely. And this is a great discussion. We just want it's not a debate, so we don't want it to get into that type of format, right? But I appreciate and everyone here will have that opportunity to, to add anything into the discussion. Okay. So did anyone, we have one more person if they want to add to that discussion. Anybody else? No? Okay, yeah, we'll move on. Okay. So this question, I will ask Chair DeGise. Currently, 77% of elected officials in Hudson County are men. The largest two demographics of people living in poverty in Hudson County are women between the ages of 18 to 34 and 35 to 44. But the largest voting bloc and the largest growing voting bloc are women. It was, as I mentioned, 30 years between Madam Council Waterman and her predecessor. In 180 years, there have only been 2 women elected mayor. There were 3 that served, Marilyn Roman, because she came in after Mayor McCann, but elected, there have only been 2 women elected mayor in Hudson County, in Hoboken, and recently in East Newark. Why do you think that historically in Hudson County and Jersey City, specifically male elected officials have been so dominant? And what do you think we can start doing today to make elected officials in Jersey City and Hudson County look more like the majority of the people that are voting?
An excellent question, and as a teacher of teenagers, I point that out all of the time, to look at not just their gender, but the demographics and if they look like you, or the common age. But what Trustee Velazquez said, women are tapped into to help, to collaborate, to put in the work, to make the phone calls all night, and it's very hard to ask them and tap into them to run. So many women just grow up with the confidence that this is what they're good at. They're good at organizing. They're good at rallying up the troops, raising money. But when they're put in a position of leadership, whether that's to become an elected official or take a promotion at work, they typically don't put themselves out there. And representation matters. I forget which young woman on this stage on the panel just said that. But it's very true, and we don't have a lot of that representation. It does take a lot. You do have to be very brave, and not to say that males don't, but things are pointed out a little bit more out in front when you're a female. When my Aunt Lois served...
time.
I was just going to say her weight was commented on. But we've come a long way, but we still have to learn how to compete better and with each other, and not asked or wait to be asked, but to just do.
Thank you. I think historically women have been known as the lickers and the stickers. They lick the stamps and they stick them on the envelopes to help elect men. And I think in Hudson County the tide is turning, hopefully, and I think one big thing that would do that would be abolishing the line. I think getting rid of, when I ran for state assembly in 2017, I worked so hard. That morning I walked into the voting booth and I see this whole line of people that were basically appointed, and then I'm over here all by myself, and that's how I felt, by myself. So I think abolishing the line, having open primaries, and welcoming new people where they don't feel so intimidated to run, I think that would have a big deal with getting women elected.
Yeah, just to echo off of that, it's really important to promote an inclusive community and to encourage other people to run. I say that because I threw my hat in the ring for city council, and respectfully, you don't need to start at committee person. Start at council, start at assembly, and try. You have to. Sorry, is it on? And so I think it's really important that the city fosters leadership, because the talent exists here. And too much, we're getting pushed out, we're getting intimidated. You look at a post on the city of Jersey City, do you guys want to run for mayor? Petitions are due the 30th. It was posted on the 24th. You need over 2,000 signatures to run. So there's not enough civic engagement and promoting, you can do this. And so that's something that I think is very, very important, is that we as a city promote and foster leadership.
And by the way, this is Varsha Santush Kumar. She is our mic runner. And she's very, very active, and she has a wonderful initiative that she's working with. And if anyone would like to know more about what she's working on, please find her after. She is really fighting for women locally and around the world. So, yes. Okay, yes. So now, thank you, Monica. That's why we're a team. So we would like to open the platform for questions from the audience. That concludes our pass, right, portion of the. If there are any audience members that have any questions, please come to the microphone and thank you, Josephine. That's Josephine, our AV videographer. Thank you so much. So does anyone have any questions for the panel based on any of that discussion? Deborah, please. Deborah Italiano, head of Sustainable JC for the last 10 years, working to make sustainability in Jersey City.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having this forum. This is just wonderful.
Oh, you're welcome.
Do it again and again.
We'll try.
So just to tie together some of this stuff, the smart development and affordable housing and, more green infrastructure in Jersey City, right? So these are, some of the passionate topic areas that I've been working on for many years. And I'm just, the frustration for me oftentimes is that, and I understand, and I've learned because I came out of Wall Street for many years, and things move very fast there. And, it just felt like everything was just dying on the vine here. It moves so slow. Takes time to do things, but it would seem that there are opportunities to create synergies and connect the dots. And it's a curiosity to me across these passion project areas, call it smart development, green infrastructure, affordable housing. And in terms of equity and environmental justice in some of those areas of the city where there's that lacking, right? So opportunities for models to emerge here with a lot of good ideas, a hell of a, so many smart people in city government. I mean, and the passion, of everybody on this panel, my God, right? Why are the dots not being connected? When we talk about smart development, we have Bayfront coming up. There was 2 sentences in that RFP, and we talked to the redevelopment office about sustainability and green infrastructure and greener, energy efficient buildings. That was not included in the RFP. And not only that, the RFP said that they would like to have the minimal standards met, at least, and then left it up to the respondents to come back with that. Green infrastructure is a huge missing, Mira. You and I have talked a lot about this, and we'll continue to do it, because it's not just about tree canopy restoration. Now that we've done this UHI, or Urban Heat Island Heat Watch study, and the air quality in Jersey City is really, really bad. In 2020, American Lung Association gave Jersey City, inside, which is the highest level of asthma in Hudson County, but gave Hudson County an F for air quality. You have this heat problem, this city urban heat island problem that exacerbates air quality. So not only do we have the highest rate of adult asthma in Hudson County, but we've now, and I've just read, neck and neck with Newark, the highest rate of childhood asthma in the state.
Sorry, can I just jump in here? Can we just keep our questions to 45 seconds as well, and then we'll pass it off to the council?
Yeah, so all of these are, and smart development includes affordable housing, right? So I'm wondering about, and anyone could jump in, but why it takes so long in city government to connect the dots and create synergy around problems that everybody's so passionate about. June.
I think that our leader has to prioritize these things. If it's not a priority, it takes a back seat. And that's not just with the sustainability of JC, that's with everything. I mean, why are we in affordable housing crisis right now? We are in the height of development. It's poor planning, but better yet, it's no planning. So if we really wanted to address affordable housing, if we really wanted to address the sustainability of Jersey City, it would be a part of the plan. I think it's just as simple as that.
I think you're right, because I've been told by some of the directors here that it's, the mayor who has to prioritize. Anybody?
Thank you, Deborah.
So besides political will, some of the things too is the cost of these projects and getting the budget in place for it. So this goes back to consistency, right? So I will use the Westside Avenue streetscape as an example. This is something we started talking about 3 years ago. We apply for DOT funding, we apply for city capital funding, and the projects sometimes have to be phased in throughout, right? And then that is probably, for me, one of the biggest struggles, is understanding that sort of timeline and that funding to get it down. You can have the smartest people in the room having the best conversations, but then you have to create that roadmap and stick to it. And if players are changing, priorities shift. Right? So, I mean, that's the other piece of frustration about it. And that's why I think it's important for like nonprofit partners and community partners to be in as to part of the conversation, like the think tank. And then you have to take it to the lawyers, and then they have to take a look at what we can do at a state level and then at a local level. And then you have to see if there are changes that need to be tweaked there too. So some of it is prioritizing and leadership, but some of it's actually understanding the obstacles and how to get around them. I'll tell people time and again, tell me no 5 times so I can get to yes the 6th time. Right? And so some of it is just that understanding who your partners are and making sure that that's the push and the priority.
Thank you for that.
One of the, our environment is very important, and just talking about some of this green infrastructure, as you mentioned. I think we met because I started a community garden before I was council person. I didn't have a green thumb, didn't know anything about it, just didn't want to see that empty lot there and thought we could do something else, and, started going to sustainable Jersey City meetings. I've sponsored resolutions encouraging the state to not move forward with projects on things that were harmful to the environment. We just passed one recently that the council jumped onto unanimously. But in regards to Bayfront and the RFP, so you have an RFP, which is a request for a proposal, if some people aren't familiar with that term. And we put the RFP out, and then developers respond to that RFP, tell us what they think their plan is, and then we pick those developers. So we did do that. But something that happens after an RFP is what we call an RDA, redevelopment agreement. And in that agreement, we add more of the terms and the nuts and the bolts. And that's something that the board, I requested a board for Bayfront of community members. One of our board members, Charlene Burke, every meeting, she's discussing green infrastructure. This is something that, let me hurry up. This is something that is, that's discussed every meeting, and the developers are well aware of. So these are things that we are including in the RDA to make sure that Bayfront is as green as possible, and that we want to exceed the common standards. So please don't think that just because it's something that's not a large topic in the RFP, that those things are not being intertwined and people are not contracting these developers to do.
Yeah, that's a news story. There you go. And there should be a press release on that because no one knows it.
I agree.
I just have a question to follow that. How much, and I'm asking those that are already in office, how much of this has to do with the developers? Because I remember when Glenn Cunningham was the chair, the board president, the council president, and when at that time the development started around here. And I know that he was very, very adamant that yes, you can develop this building for this, but you must develop some also for affordable housing. So how much is that part of the developers? Anybody?
When we meet a developer, that's always a conversation. It really is. And then it comes to the financial piece. They have to go back and see if they can make it work. Then we have our financial people analyze the situation too. But affordable housing and green infrastructure is always our conversation. It's always our conversation. You may not know it, but it's always our conversation. And I just said, it really is.
One other piece of this to add is that right now we have, through our planning department and through our zoning department, flood overlay areas, requirements for green infrastructure and development, requirements for landscaping, requirements, with our new forestry standards. But these things were put into place 2017, 2018, and moving forward. So any plan that was approved even 5 years ago has to be built to the plan at that time. So sometimes when somebody sees a building going up, they don't necessarily know that it was approved 4, 5, 6, even 7 years ago, right? So
Sorry, quickly want to say I'm sorry. Respectfully want to say here we are talking about women and just women in politics. Right. There are so many emotional subjects we can talk, and they are important to discuss. But just today evening, since we have 1 hour and we have a lot to talk about, so please let's just talk about one thing we are here for. Thank you. You have a question?
Yes, I do. Hello?
Role right now, and I just, you know, we have a climate crisis, we have an affordable housing crisis. I understand the government works slowly. You know, I work in public policy, but we need some fire under our asses right now. Like, we were underwater just like 2 weeks ago, and that affected women, and that affected children, that affected us, right? That affects our health, that affects our well-being. We have people who are being pushed out of this city on a daily basis. We need to do something. We need to push our government. And I will say also, you know, as somebody who's working in public policy, federal money is coming down. The American Rescue Plan is coming out. Where is that money? Let's do it. Let's put these projects in place. And I'm calling on each of our council members, you know, each of you needs to bring everything that you have into the council, whether you agree or not with each other. Bring it in, bring in your ideas, be independent voices.
I guess
And we have someone at the mic. Okay, we're going to have one more question in closing out this portion.
Okay, thank you. The question I have is about your personal style of politics and how you deal with men. And I was wondering if anyone could share some anecdotes about how you have stepped in at times when men have become dominant and have been bullying the other females in the group. When have you stepped in and had words with that person or protected that woman? Thank you.
So, yeah, we'll start with Chair DeGise, and we'll move down to Nuemi Velazquez. And I'm sorry, we're going to keep it to 45 because Momta will let you know otherwise.
So I can't think of a bullying moment, but what came to my head is that dealing with mostly male elected officials and the few females in there, that when you think of like harassment or sexism, you're not being treated like that, but sometimes you're treated like a child. And you're treated that you are too delicate to handle this tough situation. So you shouldn't sit in this room right now. You shouldn't be in on this conversation because your poor little heart can't handle it. And they treat you like they're, you know, all your dads, you know, and like you're their daughter and they can't, you know, they have to shield you from that. And constantly reminding them to treat me as if they would treat their male counterparts. You want to yell at him? Yell at me. I could take it. You want to, bring people in a room? Ask me to do it. Do not look to someone else and then tell me later because you think you've done me a favor. You're doing me no favors because you don't think of me in that leadership position. That's inside and outside of politics.
As a board member for the Jersey City Public Schools, I just had an incident like that. I don't know if you read it in the newspaper a couple of months ago. We had an issue in our district where one of our women was, in my eyes, being demoted, okay? Kept the title, but taken away all the, her responsibilities. Only because, again, in my eyes, okay, there was one person that did not want to work under this particular woman. What do? I called him out. I called him out in the meeting, I called him out in the paper, I called him out in anywhere that I stood. It was turned back this last meeting, and they gave her all her responsibilities back. But, you know, if we don't stand up for our own when we are in position of power, then what the hell are you doing there? You know, it it makes no sense for us, I see your hand, I'll be right there. It makes no sense for you to claim that you are a leader if you are not going to lead.
So often the women in City Hall, they do come to me when there is an issue. And there's plenty of times that I make sure they got the right salary. Because a lot of times they don't want to come out, you know, public with it because they are afraid, and that's just the truth. But there are plenty times that I have to fight for their salary, and they do get the salary that they so deserve. So we are at the table fighting for women that's employed with us, because my whole thing is, though, I really look at the salaries because of the budget. And you look at what women are being paid and what men are being paid. And so what I've been doing for these years now is trying to get women up to their salary. I've been fighting for women's salary ever since I took office, and it's sad.
45 seconds, right? Anyway, I just wanted to say, as a community person, I've been working in my community for over 26 years. I'm doing the work. Why I stepped in is what I explained earlier. One of the things that we were able to achieve from a community group was to create a CDC, a Community Development Corporation. There used to be 14 of them in the city of Jersey City. There's now only 2. Morris Canal, CDC, which is my entity, and Garden State Episcopal. Okay, it's pretty sad when nonprofits are moved away and don't get the assistance that they do. But when we speak to the question of being spoken to as a child, being spoken to as if though your thoughts and your ideas don't matter, it is so important for us to stand up. And when women stand up against men, it infuriates them for some reason. And maybe it's just because we exist, I don't know, but I come from Jersey City. I was literally born in Booker T. Project. I mean, so you use your resources to get where you have to go. We are developers, okay? We only developed one building so far. We have one that's been on the maps for a long, long time, but it's because of who we are. And no doubt about it. It's not because we don't know what we're doing, but obstacles have been purposely placed in our way. And we can't achieve the goal that we've set out to do. So I say to you that the reason why is because they don't respect us. And they don't think that we are equal to them, even if they're not as smart.
So thank you so much. Oh, yes, okay, because I have a question for you next. Okay.
Thank you. I just want to say it takes a lot of courage to run, because once your name is out there, they'll look up everything about you, you know, whether you did something in high school or whatnot. So, and I went through that because I was new. I didn't grow up here. My husband did, and so nobody knew who I was. So I had to get out. I had to meet people. So when you're out at night and you're doing events and things, men start to think, you know, it's okay to, you know, possibly put their hand on you, or do, you know, because you're pretty and because you're not smart. You're just a pretty face that just, you know, wants to put themselves out there. I just want you to know it's not okay. It's not okay, and I feel I'm very resilient because I ran so many times. I was bullied so many times and I don't want to say, I'm not going to say names, but I have been bullied out of parks. I've been bullied out of, you know, because I was running by myself at one point. I was running independently. I had no money. I ran with $5,000. I had 5,000 votes, and I almost beat out the president of the board at that time. So I just had to put myself out there because I'm a parent who really does care and advocates for the children of the city, and I wasn't going to let anybody push me down. So I just kept going, and for the support of my husband, who always encouraged me to keep going. And I'm so thankful for having such a great family that supports what I do and allows me to take out so much time, you know, and then whatever time I take away, I put it back into them. So if you ever see my Facebook page, we're always apple picking, we're doing stuff. But I just want you to know that it's a very hard thing to put yourself out there, and when you do, and you get there, and it's the best feeling. Like when I was sworn in 2019, I was like, wow, I actually did it. So. I just want you to know that it's okay to fail and to just keep going, because it's not, it's not the end of the road. And I actually came in after Amy, so if Amy didn't go to other things, then I wouldn't have progressed. So, and she was very supportive, and I thank you for that. And I'm so happy to be sitting next to two educators. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
During one conversation with Trustee Vertobello, I said, you need to write that playbook of how to refuse to be defeated. Because every time you got knocked down, you got back up and you went for it and you went for it, and here you are today. So that's what you call the playbook on how to annoy the heck out of people, right? You would not stay down. Building on that question, this question is for you and Trustee Velazquez. During our research, we learned that 5th grade for girls tends to be a deciding factor in their lives. 5th grade girls who participate in organized sports and other forms of physical exertion on a regular basis have a substantially reduced risk of teenage pregnancy, smoking, obesity, and osteoporosis. In your experience, what are some programs or initiatives that you would like to see to elevate girls that will help their development into adulthood?
I've also been a school teacher. I retired 45 years from Jersey City Public Schools. So I've had experience with little kids coming in all messed up, and I've had experience with high school girls and middle school girls with issues, just as what you were saying. Pregnancy, not just pregnancy, but, being raped, just going through so much. What we need, what I have done, okay, I always have a network of sisters. We need to have that network of sisterhood. I've had a network of sisters in different areas, and that's the first thing I do is pick up that phone and call. At that time, this girl in Planned Parenthood, speak to the mother, because I know that a lot of people don't let the mothers know. Somebody's got to know you're not their mother. And I'm sure if anything were to happen, God forbid, to Gina's girls, Gina would like me to let her know. So, we need to respect parenthood, first of all, and address the issue with the parent, address the issue with the child, make sure that the child is confident, has confidence in you that you will protect them. But we need to develop also within our schools departments that will protect the child, that has those programs for the students, and we need more education in child development and sex education. And I know that some parents don't care for that, but it's so important. No one's teaching a child how to have sex. We're teaching a child how to protect themselves, and we're teaching a child how to take care of issues when they just couldn't protect themselves. So we need more of those programs in our schools and in our classrooms.
Thank you. So I just want to say, earlier you heard I have a Girl Scout troop. I've been a troop leader since 2013. So I've been empowering girls from starting at PS 38, and then we moved on. I moved out of the area, so now I'm at St. Paul's Episcopal, but we have girls from all over the city. And we're consistently doing things that, I would have loved to have done as a child, and my parents were immigrants, so they never really did those kinds of things. I didn't even know how to start a Girl Scout troop. I was like, okay, well, let's just do it. And I've had some of these girls from forever, for years and years, and we're doing things that, we just did a parade the other day for the Labor Day Museum. It was amazing. We were honorees, and these girls are constantly, thinking and doing, and I would love to see more of those kinds of things at the Board of Education, more mentoring programs for girls, and we were talking about more STEM programs for girls and more science things. We try to do a lot of that too. My co-leaders here today day, Kelly. And we're doing things with St. Peter's University. And I know that at one point, I think before the pandemic, there was Girl Scout troops starting in the schools. So that is something that should continue. And we're always sisters. Girl Scouts are sisters to sisters, so we're always willing to help, promote those programs. And so I really think that, and I was also an avid sports person when I was growing up. I was horrible at school. I was like the worst, and that's why I think I pushed so much about education, because I was never really pushed. So what I did was I went into sports, and I did a lot of that. It does keep you out of trouble if you're constantly doing things and you're not just sitting idle or just bored, because you need to be constantly thinking and active. And I really love having my troop, because I get to play out all the things that I want to do through them, and they go with it, and they have a good time, and that's all I want to do. I just want them to know that, they had a good time while they were with me.
So I have some really sad news. You only have 20 more minutes of me. And then it's Monica. So it's okay. But so these following questions are going to be really tight. We're going to move on, and I'm going to address them to specific people. I'm looking at Councilwoman Prinzari, and I'm looking at two artists over there. So I said, I think the next question is, in November 2020, Jersey City residents voted in favor of a new tax to finance the arts. Historically, women have been underrepresented and underpaid in nearly every artistic discipline. In Jersey City, the mural program only has 21% of art by women. The pay gap in the arts between women and men is 30%, while nationally the gender pay gap is 14%. Councilwoman, as an avid supporter of the arts and women in the arts, how would you propose that we have a fair and equitable disbursements of funds, or at minimal a 50-50 ratio when it comes to funding women in the arts in Jersey City?
That's a great question. So some of this work has been done by we weren't a committee, but we worked with the Jersey City Arts Council to make sure that the committee members that were chosen to do the disbursement of funds through the Arts Fund, and for those of you who don't know, this is a small amount of money that's charged to each property owner, collected through the city to disperse approximately, first year I think will be about $1 million to artists for various kinds of programming and various kinds of work. We're still sort of working out the mechanics of how that's going to go. So part of what was important was making sure that the committee members were reflective of the community. So some of that was already built into that. We have a committee of representing each ward, and then also various designees. Now the second layer of that, which I think is going to be really important, is the peer review panels, which are cohorts that are going to be scoring all of the applications. And as the committee works to build out the requirements and the rubrics, we can add things like certain points for women, minorities, certain points for the kind of work that they're doing and how it's impactful. The one thing we've been told by the law department is to make sure that we sort of stay away from quotas. So that's the work that the group is going to have to do to figure out how we can best support women and women in the arts, but also make sure that it's fair and equitable.
Thank you, Varsha. So I'd like to, this next question, it would be addressed to the women running for the first time. So Danielle Frede, June Jones, Kristen Zadroga Hart. That question is, running for office is very tough. You have to get petitions, you have to get on the ballot, you have to build a platform, and certainly dealing with all these new things that happen on a daily basis. And please, Mo Kimberg, with your experience in running as former Ward D, I'd love to hear your input. But what are the biggest challenges and biggest hurdles that you have faced? Have you ever felt, that people cross the line? Have you ever felt that, not knowing the environment was detrimental to you? And what has that, and how have you navigated through this being first-time candidates? We can begin with, you're smiling, Ms. Jones.
It's been an experience for me. one of the things that I've learned is to be able to listen a little bit better. I find that people that I ask to sign my petition and share with them why I'm running have issues. But the sad part about it is that there's a lot of anger out there. And one of the questions that I have met over and over and over again is, well, what's make you so different? I did this before and nobody kept their promise. So how do you defend yourself when you're this is your first time doing it? And so my response to those people was that, you know, if we're not part of the solution, then maybe we're part of the problem. And that in our community, we have to engage more. We have to be a part of bringing a solution to some of the problems that we're having. That's been my biggest challenge in sharing and trying to regain trust in some people who seem to have lost trust in our government. The good side about it is that there's been people who know me, who knows my work, who in the community that have been very encouraging. I'd like to think that being in the seat of a council person at large will make a big difference. I would like to continue the work that I do in the community because I care about the community. I care about Jersey City. I love Jersey City. And in spite of all of the problems that we have, I know that we can do better. I know we can do better.
So when I ran for office in 2017, not only was it the first time I had run for county committee, but that's, you know, and then first time running for council, I was also a new mom. And so, I mean, I don't know what I was thinking. So I was just like really in tunnel. I was just like, I gotta get to that goal. And I was bringing my daughter out there and I was, you know, both learning the obstacles of running as a woman, but also running as like a working mom with like a 1-year-old daughter. So there were so many challenges that were, you know, just coming at me, and all I could do was just focus on getting it done and reaching my goal and getting to that point, and I did that. So I'm very proud of myself for making it to that point. And after the election, I had a lot of time to reflect and think about what happened. And what I realized for me is that what I wanted to see was more women in office. And that I could run again, and I could put that energy into myself, but I could also put my energy into 10 women running for office and have more voices and more women of color in office. And so for me, that was the lesson learned, is that I can do this again, but I can also support women. And I hope all of us, you know, do that. We need to support every single woman, you know, who shares our values to run for office.
I think that this is not my first time running for office. I ran for assembly in 2017, but I've been very, I won't say satisfied, but I've been okay dealing with being just active in the community. I helped with the Katin statue to keep it where it is. I helped organize around the water tax so that people were aware of what they were being billed for. And I was satisfied being on that end of it for now. For the past 2 years, I've been on the JSEP board, the Jersey City Employment Training Program. And we've been turning that program around from what it's been. A lot of negative stuff has happened, and we've worked really hard over the past 2 years to get it on the right course so that people can find employment, they can re-enter into the program. And about a month ago, I was told that I've been thrown off the board. The mayor appointed someone else in my position. I wasn't told. So that kind of was the final straw that pushed me. I gave myself 3 days to get my petition signed, and I think that was kind of the push to get me to where I am today. And I don't want to say it's coming from a negative point, because I've been thinking about running for council, just not now. I didn't think this was the time, but I think that was the thing that finally pushed me to do it right now.
So talking about experiences as a candidate that's running for the first time, it hasn't been easy. So within, I think, 2 weeks of me announcing, I got stopped by 2 men yelling, "Why are you running? There's a system here. You're not supposed to run. You should come to me." That person is still actively campaigning with the administration after multiple times of me reaching out to my representative, escalating it to the mayor, and then escalating it to God knows where. The county prosecutor's office reached out to me. And all I've been getting is gaslighting. It's been an unbelievable experience, and I just want to tell everyone, despite that, I'm still here, I'm still running. Please don't take my word for it. Everyone should be running. Please don't take my word for it. Find out yourself if Jersey City wants you to run, because let me tell you, they don't. They don't want you to run. And they don't want you to run as an independent. They want you to ask for permission. And it's really terrible. I've been through a number of obstacles, but it just lights more fire because we need real representation on city council that is really responding to the needs of the people and not developers, period.
Sorry, can I ask a question? Can I ask a question? So this is what I want to know, and thank you for mentioning it. And so all these women, I look up to you because one day I want to do that. I want to sit right there, I want to run. How are you making it easier for me or for her so that we can be confident enough that we can look up to you that yes, these are the women sitting right there going to help us? Can we expect that from you guys there?
So one thing that I think is vastly different between males and females is that a lot of males in power like to have their names on things. They like to be in the front row. They like to be in every picture. Women are completely confident, or most women are completely confident with being in the back seat. Whether it's you have family duties, you have other obligations, your place of worship that you'd rather be at than in that front page with your name on it. So we've learned how to mentor and work with advocacy groups and say, if you host the event, I will show up. Please don't make me do any more work. So I think with this group of women and women throughout the city, many of them are empowering each other. They're showing up to each other's events. They're showing up, to each other's causes or each other's places of worship or green space or whatever it is. And then you turnkey that, because we don't feel like we have to be front and center with names in lights. And I think that networks. And I think that builds communities of really strong women and really strong male allies too that are like, yeah, I'd like to be home. Or, I want to be center stage with my children. I want to be at the plays that night. And it creates an atmosphere where men and women are living equally and equitably. And that's when the opportunities become spread out equitably as well.
Thank you. I think that particularly in my ward, in Ward A, there hasn't been a lot of women to hold a seat. And, I'm the first person of color, period, forget just being African American. It's typically an older white gentleman's seat. And, I pay attention to that, and I would really like for there to be a woman that's interested in that seat, because I'm not the type of person that wants to ride this thing till the wheels fall off, right? I'm not trying to stay in this seat for forever and ever, but I would love for someone to come and work with me while I am in office for the remainder of this year, and if I'm, so blessed to continue again, to work with me for the next 4 years, because when you get in this spot, there's no handbook, nobody leaves you anything, the office is empty, nobody tells you that they left this person over here on Princeton Ave they were helping and now they're not helping, and it just falls by the wayside. So I think we definitely need to work on some of that continuity and passing the baton. I know our council president is working on some of that now so that we have some sort of direction to leave to whoever is going to be next in office, but that's real important. But if you are interested in office, even if you don't live in my ward, if you'd like to come to the office to work with me, to know what I'm working on, but please help. I'm willing to take the help, and it in turn it helps you if you're looking to run for a seat.
So,
yes to everything that Denise just said. For me, as a council person, I had the opportunity. I was a committee person as well. I did both. This time around, I did not run for committee person because you always want to look to the next generation, the next person who wants to step up and step in. That, to me, is the true legacy. It's part of what it is that you do while you're there, but part of what it is who you bring along with you when you move on to the next thing. One of the other things I like to do is council person for a day. I do it with young women in particular, but also young men. Bring them into City Hall, introduce them to directors, introduce them to the different departments so they understand what a career looks like in government altogether. It is not necessarily the elected official. It's, do you want to be a lawyer? Do you want to be an engineer? Do you want to be a planner? Do you want to be a graphic artist? Do you want to, do you want to be an aide? Do you want to be support? Like, what does that look like to you? And that, to me, is where it starts. Get them when they're young, give them that exposure and that access, and then bring them along with you. I think the other thing is women, we also, I think, sometimes have a better understanding of like leadership fatigue and when it's time to move on and let somebody else step in a way that our male colleagues do not always do, right? And I think that that's really important. And the other thing that I will say is that if there's something you're interested in, other things, we don't always ask. We wait. Right? Oh, would you like to sit on this board? Oh, yeah, sure, I'd love to do that. Would you like to run for this? Oh, yeah, sure, I'd love to do that. As opposed to saying, you know what, I'm interested in zoning. I want to go be on the zoning board. Come talk to us. Our doors are always open. I'd say right now as a council, you have some of the most accessible council people all together. So if it's something you want, let us know. We can't read your mind. We want to hear from you. We want your energy. We want your passion. We want, to help you foster your ideas. Because when I got started, that's what somebody did for me. And that's what I want to do to pass it along.
Well, I agree with everything my council colleague said, but I do have a women's organization, Women Working Together for Change, and I did start it Chat to Chew. And we do that because we wanted to encourage women really to run. So often what women don't do, they don't come and sit down and talk to those who are in office. They don't do it. Men do it all the time. They do it behind the scenes. They say, I'm leaving office, could you put this one up? Women don't have that conversation. They just get out here and run. We don't want these seats forever. I'm telling you, we really don't. We talk about it all the time because we really want to pass it on to another woman. But women have to really learn how to really work together. So you said, if I'm making room, yes, I am. My office is always open. All the knowledge that I have, for those who are in the seat, they can tell you I share knowledge. I don't hide knowledge. I don't. Whatever I don't know, I try to get them to help to make sure that they know it. I believe in women. I've been doing women all my life. This is nothing new. And I know sometimes women don't ask. But if you are interested in being in a political office, please come see us. We are not trying to hide anything. If anything, we are trying to give you everything that we got. Because when we leave these seats, we want to leave them to a woman. I do not want a man to have this seat. I do not. I do not. But if by any chance you don't have a woman that you can say, okay, I recognize her, I've been mentoring her, I showed her this, you don't have a woman to fight for. But when we come out of the woodworks, you got 5 women running, who can you pick? That's why I think as women, we have to learn how to get in the room together and start strategizing who's the next one to fill that seat. And that's the truth. That's something we have to learn.
I quickly want to say, I think your question had to do also with how it's made easier for you to come in. This is what's happening. What you ladies are doing today, and I thank you. Organize. Organize. If we don't organize, we will get nowhere. Organize. Go beyond this. This is excellent. Go beyond this. Let's come together. Let's have a Jersey City Conference of Women. Okay? And let's have the political, issue on the table. Okay? Civic duty. Those are the things that we need. Okay? And once we organize, and once we develop a PAC, believe me, they will hear you. They will hear you. And we don't have to make it easy for anybody. You come on in on your own. That's right. With our support.
Just really quick. I mean, I also think we have to address the systems that are in place that prevent women from running for office. And I do think that means, campaigns cost money. They are expensive. When I was running, the person I was running against raised $100,000, right? It's like, how are you going to compete with that? So I think we need to lower the bar, the entry bar for folks. I mean, I think campaign finance reform, like how can we make these campaigns less expensive? We don't want people to be dependent on developers, right? We want grassroots campaigns. So I think, lowering that bar too is another way to remove the barriers for more women to run for office. And also the toxic culture too. Again, I want to say that again, I do think that we all have to commit as women, all these women here, we got to commit to calling it out. And bullying is not okay. I mean, I love how resilient Gina is, but no bullying. That should not be happening on your campaign. You should not be bullied. And if it happens to you, we all need to stand together and say, no, that is not okay.
So thank you so much. I just want to say I'm so honored and I feel so privileged. For me, it was a milestone to have all of you answer these questions that I came up with and I thought about, and I listened to the Jersey City Women Town Hall and took what they said and put it into questions in a way that, so for me, this was a great moment in time. And like I said in the top of the event, I feel that the first woman elected mayor is in this room, and I think this is the beginning of that. So thank you so much.
So also thank you everyone for sticking around, and thank you everyone for being so patient and respectful. This last portion of the event is going to be focusing on the future of Jersey City. And so I think it's really important as you answer the questions that we're focusing on this next step, right? I'm gonna call this phase the accountability phase, right? And so I just wanted to bring up, hopefully some of you have been able to fill it out, but earlier this year we released a public and anonymous survey asking women in Jersey City, what are you dealing with? What obstacles are you dealing with? And I just wanted to throw out some of the statistics that we have from that. Over 70% of women in Jersey City are experiencing gender inequality, racial inequality, and equal pay issues, and an overwhelming amount of women are experiencing sexual harassment and street harassment and assault. Over 60% of women are concerned about maternal support and childcare, access to food, and access to health care. And over 50% are concerned about education, period, poverty, and housing security. And it should come as no shock that 65% of women want to see more women in government. So I think we're already pushing for that one. But my question to you for next steps is focusing on the street harassment and sexual harassment. We talked about bullying in politics, but what about, the community? What are we doing to make women feel more safe in their own home, in their own community, moving forward?
So I can speak to kind of looking to the future of how that can look like. So I attended this event a couple of weekends ago with SALT JC, and there was a number of women with their initiatives, founders of these amazing movements. The will is there, the resources are not. So for me, I think it would be really important to have this commission on the status of women and girls and have an independent body made up of community leaders, independent, that can really hold those checks and balances to the government and to making sure that, are we servicing women and girls? Are these women and girls getting connected to, the Office of Community Development? What is happening? We want to make sure that the women and girls are being served, and that, like I said from the beginning, I'll say it again until I'm blue in the face, the talent is here, the leadership is here in Jersey City already. So how can we connect them to the decision making in the city?
I think, especially as a high school teacher, I've seen so much in terms of females being stuck in cycles, the cycle of poverty, the cycle of teen pregnancy, the cycle of abusive relationships that they've grown up in and that they've become accustomed to themselves. And I think as a city, as a school district, just as humanity, we have to be more accountable to the people who need our help. We have to be able to provide services. We have to know that the girls have to know that there's a safe space. And we also have to direct attention towards the boys and the men. They have to know that it's not okay to treat women that way, or it's not okay to do something and then walk away from a baby. A boy can walk away from a baby. A girl cannot. That's a commitment for life. And I think on the male and the female side of it, we need to provide better social services and better support systems for our students so that they can break those cycles and they know that there's someplace else for them to go.
So, given the conversation that we've had today and hearing from all the women in the community, and we have people tuning in and hearing some of the statistics, our question to all of you is, would you support the creation of a commission on the status of women in Jersey City? Understanding that the purpose of that would be to create these environments, create these conversations, and connect the dots and connect the community with the leadership. So we're going to go down the line, and we would just like to hear about that.
Absolutely. That would actually initiate the support system that we all need. I think everybody's, or a lot of people have had experiences in many different ways that looks like sexual harassment, sexual assault. You know, sometimes I've been in situations, and because I feel that I can defend myself in certain situations, I missed opportunities of recognizing it as sexual assault. And in my life, in looking back, there's been many incidents. So I think we too, as victims of that, not feeling broken of it, have to recognize when that line is crossed and call them out on it, be able to do something about it, and be able to share. And if we had a council of sorts of women that support women, really support women on this level, because eventually it becomes a legal issue. A lot of people, especially in my situation, I can't afford a lawyer, you know, to defend me. I can't find a counsel that's going to volunteer their services. And then, and if it's in the case against men, men seem to stick with men. So it's a hard situation, and I think that would be the ultimate of a support system, at least initially. I encourage you to start that commission, and I'd be the first one to join.
I absolutely support the commission. You know, I think it's difficult for women, it's difficult for me to admit when things happen. You know, that when you're the victim of abuse, and so it's just, you know, I think that having open conversations and transparency and talking about it more will bring it out into the open, and that's how you know, address issues. So absolutely, and I think that it should be something that's funded, because this work doesn't happen without funding. So I'm hoping that that can be, you know, something that happens as well. You know, city council budget, you know, there should be some funding. Yeah, so.
No, absolutely, and I doubt there's a person in here that would disagree that that is not a really important thing that we should have here. Not only for the funding and the resources and the attention, but it normalizes these situations. You know, many of us do not consider ourselves, you know, sexist or whatever, but sometimes we don't talk about these things. We don't say, was that sexist? Was that harassment? How do I work this out without feeling embarrassed, without feeling shamed? How do I talk to my children about this, my parents, my students, whoever it is? When you normalize a situation, it just becomes a part of your life. And you're able to bring more people to the table and expose them to things that they've never seen before. It's never been in their perspective, either because they're not females or because they've never had that happen to them in their lives. So when they get to hear the experiences, traumas, when they get to hear encouragement and motivation, all of a sudden we're all on the same page and realize our end goal is to have a good life, is to be successful, and is to be good people to ourselves, to our neighbors, and to our families. So that's what a commission would do, and I would fully support that, and I hope to see that happen.
Of course, I would also support the commission. But I wanted to say is that when I first ran, I didn't really know anything about politics in Hudson County, and I didn't know anything about politics, period. I saw an advertisement that said you just need to have a high school degree and be able to read, be a certain age, I think it was, over 18. And that was it. And I said, well, that I can do. And I didn't know anything about the money part, the resources, anything. I didn't know that it was citywide, that you had to talk to all these. You do so much work for school board, and it's a lot of work with a lot of no pay, and it's a work of heart, because you truly want to do it, you want to advocate. But what I wanted to say is that a commission would be great, just because you want to inspire others to do what you're doing, and that's why again, I know I talk about my girls a lot, but when we were at the Labor Day parade the other day, my daughter spoke, and she was sandwiched between the governor and the mayor Patterson, and I thought that was so cool, because I was like, I want you to be that next. I want you to be the one speaking at one of these parades, and because it was very, very male dominated where I was standing, and I was like, this is such a great experience for these girls, I want to see more of that. I would have loved to have seen more support when I was running from other women and stuff. It would have felt great, because it's like you were saying earlier, you felt alone on the ballot. I felt alone, but I did it anyway, because I wanted people to have choices. I didn't want people to think that let's just go down the line and then that's your choices, because I was telling people, just vote for me, even though you had 3 choices. Just vote for me. So I was really, I was very persistent, and I had no knowledge of politics at all. I just wanted to help my community, and I wanted to fix these schools, because I thought that the facilities were horrible. And now I'm on the committee for facilities. I'm loving doing all these connections with stuff, and I connected with ICO with the period poverty. We did a resolution. Now we're going to start doing a pilot program at PS 34 so that women can have access to maxi pads. And so I'm very thankful for that, and I'm always here to connect in any way. And we're going to be doing sustainability, Deborah. So that was something that I actually pushed for to add to facilities to our committee. So thank you.
I think the short answer is yes, absolutely. I would support the commission. But I think the bigger question is, it's 2021. Why would we need this? So I think I would hope it's a short-lived commission, just because I hope it's so successful and we get to a point where that's not even a question anymore, is can a girl be in the math class, or can a female run for this position without being asked? I think, and I think we're on the brink of that, of an awakening and a rising of females in all aspects of things. So yes, and I hope it's so successful that it's short-lived.
Yes, of course. I would absolutely support the Commission on the Status of Women and Girls. I definitely want to recognize the labor and the love that the organizers have put into this space today, because these are the types of spaces that I need, as well as a candidate that's running, to feel seen and heard and empowered, because I'm not getting that elsewhere. For you to have to put this together, to create a survey, to look at the needs of the women, that means it's not happening. That means it's not a priority for the city. And so this is something that we need to lift up, and we need to provide resources to. This is a full-time job, I imagine. You need to be funded for this work. And I 100% agree, and like I said, it's definitely something that needs resources, because the will is there. And with Jersey City, our budget is a value statement. It's what we care about and what we prioritize. So if we care about this, this needs to be something that is on the table. Thank you.
So, of course, absolutely, that's something I would support and would love to be a part of. And, I think that as society as a whole doesn't realize how much women are overlooked, and it's important for us to start calling that out more. And I'm seeing an uprising of more women getting together and starting to wave our flag and say, hey, we're here and we're being mistreated. So that's definitely something I would want to be a part of. And piggybacking off of what Gina said is the resolution she mentioned that we just passed, just to get menstrual products in city buildings and then to take them to schools. A lot of people don't talk about that. But, I said to someone the other day while we were in the bathroom at City Hall, I said, if the men needed it, it would have been in here already, right? But it's like things that people just don't understand and don't think about that women go through on a daily basis that we need to address. So yes, definitely.
So, yeah, of course, the answer is yes, and for all the reasons why we are all here in this room right now. I think that, collectively there is so much talent, and there are so many women doing so many great things, and we don't talk to each other. Right, so there is just the everything day to day, the work that we're doing that we don't necessarily share because we're so busy doing the work. And so it's important for us to take that time out and talk about these issues. And again, I'll go back to ACO and the work with the Flow Initiative. You guys presented at Gina's Girl Scouts. Cassidy Gormley reached out to me, and that's how we got the resolution for the city, in addition to the one that they did in the schools, in addition to the one that you all are working on at the state level, and also in addition to some of the work that the libraries are now doing. So it's because of that conversation, and because you guys had, the willingness to have that uncomfortable conversation, because periods for women from the minute we get them until we go into menopause are embarrassing. We're made fun of for it. We have, our own like aches and pains with it that men are never going to understand. And women are unique in that way that men are unique. We're built differently. And it's important that we have that safe space to continue to talk about it and, be okay with making the men uncomfortable hearing it, right? I think that that's another big piece of it. So, yes.
I'm all for a women's commission, but there's so many women organizations now. And I'm at a point, why can't we just get together and see how we can build that? Because just last month, I was at a forum at the Canopy, and it was a group of women, and they had the senator there, Loretta, and she was giving such wise information about the struggles that women were going through with. Just the mere fact that they had to pass legislation that if you are a woman running in a political office, now for your campaign, you can use that for child care. They just passed that. So my thing is, though, there are different organizations of women, but we need to figure it out how we can get together and build that. For real, you have to, because, you guys started this a year ago. All right, it was Commerce Women, first one. It was Commerce Women, first one who had a forum too, And then next month it'll be another women organization that's having a forum. I think we need to figure out how we can get together and really make it work, because what we're doing, we're pulling from each other, and it's not growing. And we really need to grow. You need the finance for women to really run for office, because men have it. Women don't really contribute like that for another woman, but they'll hustle for another man. And I've seen it, And so I'm for it, but at this point, I want to see us all come together and make it happen. That's the only way we can really make it grow, and women can really be a part of this whole, what we call a system, and have our own voice. Until that happens, we're going to keep creating different organizations, and we're going to be back here next year talking about some of these same issues. I'm at this point, let's just make it happen. Commerce, call them. You know what, we starting this. Can we sit down and have a talk how we can make this work together? I mean, Naomi, she deals with the Spanish women. I see her when we go to run, she for real. You know what I mean? Right, and she talking about how can we build a pact, because we understand you're going to need it. You're going to need it. You're going to need it in order to run. No ifs, ands, or buts. So the conversation is there. You understand? But I'm just, at this point, we need to just come together and work it out and start strategizing. Sure, we've been for it all along. We've been going down to Middlesex. Right, for real. It's nothing new, though. We've been going away to Middlesex County to get this. That's why I even started, Hudson County Women Political Caucus here. But when I became into office, nobody else wanted to take it on. No other woman wanted it. Thank you. No other woman wanted it. I'm saying we've been in this, so I'm at this point, let's just make it happen. All the women organizations, line it up. Let's have a meeting. Yes. You got it. Okay?
Obviously, yes. I continue to speak here about organizing, coming together, doing the pack. I mean, all of those things are needed. And yes, we can't have little chapters of all these organizations throughout. Let's try to bring them together. And again, if this organization can start that conference in Jersey City, you'll bring everyone else together. I am willing to lend that hand. Okay. And I'm sure that all the ladies on this, it's supposed to be a panel. It's actually a committee. Here's your committee, ladies. Anyways, I thank you. Thank you so much for this. And yes, let's move on. Women forward.
So, sorry, we have few questions some people asked online, I believe.
Yeah, is it time for that?
Yeah, this is Q&A now, so we're opening it up.
Okay, great. So we had some questions presented by the Instagram Live, and they're directed at Mira to ask. It's obviously not your direct responsibility, but we had two questions addressing Mayor Fulop's inability to come to people after the flooding, as well as his inability to speak on the woman who passed or was murdered at Lincoln School. So those are just two questions we had as to why he didn't address either of those concerns for the community.
So, thank you for sharing those questions, and we appreciate that there are some concerns around Mayor Fulop's conduct, but that's not your responsibility to speak for. So we appreciate you voicing them, absolutely, but you don't need to speak for anyone else's actions but your own. Which,
So for my ward, and I will only speak about my ward, after we realized the extent of the storm and the extent of the damage that was happening to people, we immediately got out there. We're reaching out to neighbors, understanding, like in my ward, I know where the biggest flood zones are, so that's where I went immediately. I was the one that requested dumpsters. I was the one that made sure that we pushed information out, and when we found out that information was wrong about Suez, for example, with the bottled water, to let residents know this is what's actually happening on the ground right now. And this went on for a week. And I didn't get a lot of sleep that weekend, but that's my job as a council person. Government should, the thing that some people like to say about government is that government should always function, and you should only really know about it when you need them. And that weekend was when we needed them, and that's when I was there for my residents. To the shooting at Lincoln High School, that's outside of my ward, so it's a horrible, horrible thing. There a couple of years ago was a murder of a woman in my ward in Lincoln Park. And the first thing that we did was reach out to residents. There were residents that wanted to organize a group because they didn't know what else to do. I reached out to the commissioner, Bill O'Day, and we had a community meeting within a couple of days. We brought everybody on board and we shared the information as best that we can. Because again, as a council person, that's my job. I'm not gonna speak for anybody else, and quite honestly, why should I speak for a man? I'm not his spokesperson, that's not my job.
Thank you so much, Monica. I want to read, because speaking about the flooding and action, having Deborah Italiano here, we actually received a statement from Mr. Jay Cutnut, who is running in Ward E, but unfortunately he couldn't be here. But he really wanted to speak about sustainability, and he really wanted to, and so he sent a statement over. And I'd like to read it because I thought it was, it was thoughtful. That he couldn't be here, but he wanted to share this with you. So, good evening, Jersey City women. Thank you for inviting me to the town hall. Although I cannot be here with you, I'm grateful for this opportunity to address you on sustainability in Jersey City and our resilience to a changing climate. This topic is extremely important to me because we're experiencing more and more flooding incidents every year. And I want to make sure that future generations can still call Jersey City, especially downtown, home. Those of us here during Superstorm Sandy know how bad it can be, and Ida and Henry, just 2 weeks apart from one another, were nearly as bad. Many of our neighbors will be recovering for a long time. These extreme weather events should come as no surprise. Jersey City, especially downtown's Ward E, is one of the most rapidly urbanizing spaces in the United States, with one of the most climate-stressed urban coastlines in the region. Rising sea levels, antiquated storm water infrastructure, alarming drops in sea canopy, and few new green spaces and parks affect us all, but especially our most vulnerable are women, children, elderly, economically marginalized, and handicapped. There is no question we have to be proactive, and I'm proposing we get serious about our infrastructure. This means opening more pedestrian plazas with significant green space, giving the water a place to go during storms, and keeping it out of people's basements. We then create areas for families to play, shop, and enjoy with plenty of room away from cars. Going forward, it is also crucial to use previous pavements for sidewalks in all new public workspaces, and we must establish a stormwater utility. Each of these will lead to a more resilient Jersey City, and there will be a lot here a lot longer for our children and grandchildren. I want to be clear, though, sustainability is even more holistic than just planting trees and digging up roads. It encompasses smart development through better neighborhood engagement and finding more ways to keep Jersey City affordable, clean, and safe. Most importantly, it means undoing decades of harm from environmental racism like the one at One Caven Point, whereas prosecutors investigated and prosecuted polluters who were illegally dumping waste and damaging both the environment and residents' quality of life. The polluters ceased their operations and left Jersey City, and the New Jersey DEP followed and assessed civil penalties. It means assuring that the drinking water in our children's schools is free of lead and safe to drink. We need to prioritize this type of environmental justice moving forward. I leave you with this: Jersey City sustainability and resilience depend on our leaders taking bold actions like I am proposing. The women here, especially Joyce, Denise, Amy, Mira, stand with me in taking on these challenges. And when each of you here run for office, sustainability and resilience must be a priority for you too. Thank you. And I think all the women here would agree that sustainability, right, and resilience is important. But I just wanted to read that because he did send it over, and sustainability has been such a big conversation point here today.
Motion granted. We're just going to open up now to the audience. If anyone has any questions, please, this is the time.
Okay. I didn't plan on asking a question, but I'm just wondering, who do you all see the biggest hurdles that are, having us be stuck with these issues? Like sustainability and all these things are very important, but nobody really brings up that there's murders left and right every day. And while it doesn't happen down here, and you don't even see it on the news, which, I know that I did not see the problems that were going on until the last couple of years. And there's just kids dying left and right. And clearly, these problems start in education, and when kids are younger and getting these problems, crime comes from a place, and this place can be fixed starting with these, younger children in the education system and things like that. So who do you guys see are the hurdles to where people aren't able to do the jobs that they're elected to do? And where is all the money going? Because as parents, we see that there aren't resources there for the kids, and that's really where the main root of the problems can get fixed, is with younger children and with education and giving people and children resources and things like that. So maybe people that are in office, who's stopping you from being able to fix these things, and what kind of change would you like to see? And also people that are new and running, what kind of things do you people have lived here their whole lives, have you seen this unravel, and really what needs to be done to help? Because at the end of the day, green energy and all this is great, but people are dying every single day, and I don't think people realize that's what's going on here.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think the biggest hurdle is when our leadership is made up of people who are beholden to other interests, that are beholden to developer money. We need more independent voices on city council to prioritize what a public servant means. That means we're taking a look at the budget, we're looking at what services are important to us, what are our values as a community. That can only happen when you're elected by the people and you're not beholden to your big donors. That's really what I see as a big obstacle as a grassroots candidate.
I think in one word you can say egos. People always want to be the one that gets credit for anything that happens, and especially the past, I guess 4 years since Trump, I think that the world has been so divided on everything that it's either you or it's me, and I think people have to make that conscious decision to put my ego aside and do what's best for the entire community.
There's so many moving parts to that, you know, and we haven't figured it out yet, you know, and that's, you know, why you can't direct it to a leadership or funding, because then you're just saying that everyone before us here in Jersey City and everywhere in the world just knew how to cure crime and murder. So it's not that simple. It's really not. And it does take a lot of collaborative, open, negotiating minds dedicated to meaningful policy. It takes a long time to put forth. You know, and to not, you know, die on every hill because you think that, you know, your perspective is the only perspective that should be heard, but to be inclusive and include that. You know, and if I could go to the education point, I think we have, you know, fine education system here, but we do need to, you know, redirect some workforce development at the youth age. We do it at the adult age and out of school age, but we need to have mentorship, you know, and a lot of these places that either they started their small business here or they got a tax incentive to put a big business here need to now turn back and take our students under their wing. There should be a senior release program in these overcrowded, stuffed old high schools, bringing them into the community, building employability skills, teaching them a trade, showing them that college is not the only pathway to success, and also grooming our future workforce. Live here, stay here, work here. When you have your families, don't fly out of here either. Raise them to want to work here too and do and fulfill their dreams. I don't know if that's going to cure crime and murder. I hope that it puts a chip or a dent away in it, but I bet you all of our ideas combined could lead to some sort of change. But it's not that easy, you know, and it doesn't go down to who's in charge and who the money is coming from. It comes into, you know, who can actually lead a community into progress and wanting to believe in their neighbors and themselves and stay here and continue to do that work.
This is a tough situation for me because so many people that I know have died and been murdered. Yeah, I'd like for people to stay here, but we got to make it affordable so people can stay here. That's where the affordability and the IZO comes into play. As far as services, it is a collaborative effort. I think educators, we're doing nothing much for mental health with people. You know, a lot of people have been traumatized, not just with the epidemic of this COVID situation. People dying after dying after dying. People don't want to be vaccinated. People don't want to get safe. It's your right, yes, but it puts us in a real bad situation. And on top of that, seeing these murders and hearing about these murders every day, no respect for life. Some of these people are traumatized. They have mental issues that have never been addressed. And I just feel that we're not doing enough for our youth in that partake. Listen, I've seen literature just recently about making the streets safer and crime going down. I can't say that is so true because the murders are continuing. The burglaries, people have issues. You see more homeless people on the streets now than ever before. Some of us is living paycheck to paycheck. Lord have mercy, lose your job. It's going to be a situation that is going to exacerbate the situations that we have now. So what I say to that is I agree with you, Amy, that there's no one set solution, but it doesn't take a lot to put something together, and it certainly doesn't take 8 years. Our situation has really gone down the drain with the crime and stuff. Yes, it's gotten worse. It has absolutely gotten worse. And the shooters are getting younger and younger. Younger and younger. So that means that we have to prioritize this situation. My streets are not safe when that happens. And Lord have mercy, when a young woman goes to pay respect to someone that has been shot and dies herself for being there, that makes our streets unsafe. We got to do better than posting police cars on a corner that are unable to move for any other reason than what they're posted there for.
I just wanted to add, too, that I've been asking myself that same question about the murders and the violence, and the Jersey City Council actually commissioned an anti-violence study in 2017. We put $110,000, I believe, towards this study. So people actually went out and did interviews and studied the issues and came up with recommendations. So there is a document that's out there that has, and those recommendations are very obvious. You know, it's like supporting youth programs, you know, supporting social services. So we've actually done the research and we've done the work. We just need to actually implement these programs. I'm not saying just, but I mean, I think we should start with that because we actually have done the research.
I agree with everything that everyone said. When you deal with crime, it's really a complicated issue. It's more than you can really bargain for. I know as a city official, we have invested in some nonprofit organizations because we know of the crime. I don't know if you're familiar with the chaplain program, because we believe that some of the kids can be reached by maybe a spiritual aspect or whatever. And so we have created that chaplain program which goes into the community. But one thing I want to say about affordable housing is that affordable housing will always be a challenge for us, because as much as I study affordable housing, what has taken place is that people have not received the cost of living raise every year. Even when they give for real, because even when you get a place to stay, if by any chance you don't get a cost of living raise that year, next year you're going to be feeling the crunch of that. And so even when I go to different platforms and I speak with developers and stuff like that, I said, if we really want to deal with the issue of affordable housing, let's deal with wages first. Because in order for anybody to stay in their home, their wages will have to be increased every year, because the cost of living is going up every year. And because that has not happened, affordable housing will always be an emergency in the state, not just the state of New Jersey, in the country, because we have not given people raises. And you need to give people raises so they can just maintain where they live. And we wiped that out at least about 20 years ago, because I remember when I was working, we would always get a cost of living raise. We will always get a bonus at the end of the year. But there was a crisis in the country at one time. I don't know if it was our gas crisis we was going through, and they wiped that out. And that took away all of the increases that people would get. And now we're back at square one. Until we start giving people, I'm telling you, an increase in their pay every year, affordable housing will always be a challenge for us. People won't be able to stay there, because what happened? Everything else is going up, but your salary is not. And then you're going to have to get another job and another job and another job. My concern is that sometimes we're fighting the wrong thing. We all agree we need affordable housing. We're not saying we don't. But the thing is, though, if we really want affordable housing, let's go after the big dog. Let's try the federal government. Nobody wants to deal with him. Some of the guidelines is terrible. Even when they qualify, even when they go put in the application for affordable housing, they keep telling them they don't qualify, and yet their income is so low they can't survive. So you really want to deal with affordable housing? Let's deal with that whole picture across. Let's deal with the federal government and see if we can get that standard changed. The state government has one issue on affordable housing. The federal government has an issue on affordable housing. So even when we get affordable housing, hear me well, we need to fight for people to have wages increase every year. I see it as a problem. People cannot afford to stay there. And as elected officials, I'm open up to any idea that you have. I don't turn no ideas away. These women on the panel, if they want it, they can come talk to me and give me ideas. I'm open. I never said I had all the answers, but I said I'm here to listen and see what we can do. Just like we have this forum, if women will put their thoughts together and energy, we can probably make something else happen. But let's fight for the wages. Let's try that, because people really can't stay in their homes.
Hello?
I'm actually gonna,
Okay.
I'm gonna sit. If you can just give me 2 seconds, please.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit because I have a broken ankle. But I just wanted to address a few things. First and foremost, I'm in agreement with Council President. It starts with finances. It's not necessarily a police department or a political issue when there are murders on the street. Yes, they factor in. I come from a community. Let me say this. It was my daughter that was killed. And she was not at a vigil. She was literally walking across the street from a cookout to go to her mother-in-law's house to go home. So just for the record, let's correct that. And it is these women, 1, 2, 3, and 4, that were at my house with me, holding my hand when I was going through after my daughter died. So I don't want anybody to use her in vain for any political reasons. I really don't want that. It's not fair to her, and it's not fair to me. That's number one. Number two, I am a part of the police chaplain program. I am actually the liaison for the West District, and that has been put in place and fought for by Council President. Now, that Saturday, prior to my daughter being killed, I was actually called to the scene of the young man's vigil that she walked past. So these things all play a factor. And am I angry? Hell yes, I'm angry. My daughter's gone. I have to take care of her children now. But I cannot blame those that are in positions, in political positions, or the police department, when we have children out there that are brainwashed into believing that if you tell on someone, you're a snitch. No. And I hear them all the time saying, the police department has to do something. You have to open your mouth and say what you know. Yes, the young man found out it was my child, and he turned himself in. Thank God for that. And he's in jail right now. But at the same time, we have to stop pointing fingers at the people that are not responsible for the ones that are killing children. They're killing each other. Yes, they're getting younger and younger, but I believe that the households have to take responsibility. What we don't realize is there are a lot of one-parent households, and women, we do the best we can do. I have a husband. I've been married for 29 years, and I still want to kick my son's butt sometimes, and he goes to Lincoln High School, and he was there when the shooting happened a couple of days ago, and all of these women called over to check on my child. These women made sure that he was safe, and we knew what was going on, because it's not just about my child, it's about everybody's child. And when something happens in the school, we are called to the scene so that we can go minister to those kids, minister to those families. That's for their spiritual health, not just their mental health, their spiritual health, so that they know they're not alone. I was born and raised in Jersey City, and the mayor, and I must say, I know this is not for men, the mayor was the one that was up with me in the middle of the night every time I came up with a thought of something I could do, and I would email him or text him, and he would call or text right back. Why? Because he actually cares. His heart is broken, just like mine, and so is everyone else up here, over what happened to my child, but we can't change that. She's gone. The only thing we can do now is go forward and fight for these children that don't know that they're worth fighting for. That's where we are right now. Not finger pointing. That should be over and done with.
I just want to say that my heart goes out to you for your situation and the loss of your daughter. I am not here to finger point anyone. Okay, I am speaking reality to what we are living right now, and it's an unfortunate situation that what has happened. And I am aware of the situation. I am also aware of the chaplain situation as well that we need to work on. And I thank you guys for being there spiritually to be there for some of those people. But there's a whole host of people who don't have the mayor's ear, who the mayor has not called on. I'm not finger pointing, I'm just speaking reality, okay? And that you got that, and that's good. That maybe that's a start. Maybe that's a start. But there's a whole host of people that have gone through traumatic shootings. Every day you're hearing about them that has not gotten that service. And you're right, we need to fight for some of these children, for all of them, that don't even know their worth and their worth of life. Okay, so please be clear and that I am not finger pointing, I am just speaking reality to what I know. Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, we have one more question, and I just want to say thank you so much for sharing that story and being so brave and courageous and being here with us today. We appreciate you sharing that story because you read it about in the newspaper, this happened, but you never, at least I rarely get to see face to face the person that it's directly affected, and that's this moment right now. So thank you so much for sharing your story. Carolyn, yes. Yeah, not really, but just dropped. Mic drop.
I just want to say, I guess, or ask and say, we have the macro level and the micro level. We have solutions and we have problems. And I do want to say that in my experience thus far, there's a lot of organizations here, a lot of nonprofits, a lot of women that are out here that want to do the work, that are doing the work, and I applaud them. I applaud those women on here that are opening your doors, opening your ears to those women. However, what I'm finding is, how are we able to mainstream these things? How are we going to come together and collaborate? Because there's so much work being done on the ground, and we kind of have to connect, right, the bridge. And how do we do that? I guess, how can we utilize your support from those women that are out here in the community, that are doing the work, that are working with the children, that are working with the senior citizens? Because there's people here that want a better Jersey City, and they're doing it, and they go home, and it's a wrap. But how do we get you guys to streamline that process? How do we do that? How do we get you all on board? Because yeah, I can, go to Mira's on my ward, and I go to her for stuff, but I think instead of so many divisions between the wards, and it's a city. This is Jersey City. The wards are cool. I don't mind. I'm in Ward E. I'm in Ward C. I have different restaurants I have to go to, but how do we all collectively do this? How? The solution, because there's so many problems. We can sit here all night to about midnight and list all the problems. But what are the solutions, and how can we get it done? I heard a lot of great stuff tonight, but I know there's women. I went to an event last week. There's women that are doing it, ladies, and we just need you guys to help us bridge that. How do we do it? There's a woman, Claudia Wheeler. It's a SALT NJ, and she helps with food insecurity. She's over by Central? Newark Ave, okay. And that's just one of many. There's so many. But we really just need a place. We need a way. Because if we all really, really intentionally, authentically, really all come together, aside from the politics, aside from what we're all trying to do with our own agenda, if we really do it, because there's women out here that are doing the work every day, even if they only help out 5, or they only feed 2 people, or they only talk to 2 kids about to stay off the streets, but there's people here that are doing it, so how do we mainstream that? That's my question.
If I can just speak quickly, I think that this event today was our first step towards trying to accomplish that, but that can't be done without the women in front of us speaking to it. So I don't want to answer the question for you, but Aiko and I had the same question a year ago, and that's why we're here. And I would love to hear from the council and the panel on how you think we could do that better. So.
That a commission of a collaboration would work. I mean, if you put everybody together with what they have to contribute, I think it does work. I mean, whether it's in every ward is a little bit different, and I do agree with you. It's Jersey City. We all share in it together. But you got to talk about the issues so that they can be addressed. And if the commission happens, that would be the first step to collaborate on the issues that we have to work on. I think it's a good idea. I think everybody already agreed that it's a good idea. It's who's going to initiate it.
Yeah, I mean, this is Mo Kinberg. I think that, a commission on women and children is that, first step. But I also think that, maybe something that could come out of that, and it would be a process, would be a women and children agenda for change. So taking, surveying all of these organizations and the work that they're doing and putting that into a single agenda, and then working with our legislators to put that into actual policy, right? So taking, the programs that we're doing, because I think that's when it becomes piecemeal. We're doing this work on the ground, but we have to put it into policy. It needs to be legislated. It needs to be part of our laws. And that's when we actually see change. So we need to change the system, and we do that through changing our laws. So I think if we can, take these ideas, what we're already doing on the ground, so many amazing organizations, so many amazing women, put that into an agenda, and then make that policy, and then just go, down the list of the things that we want to accomplish.
I believe in the "it takes a village" motto. We really do need to, get together all of the organizations that help out, whether it's causes for women, our youth, our LGBTQ population, put them all in a database and figure out what the needs are, where are the gaps, where are the barriers, and then collaborate together. And again, I think that we're good at doing that as women, and we're good at doing that as a community on listening. And then, you invited us here, and here we are. I hope people didn't, hang up on you or slam the door in your face, or, maybe we'll talk later who you invited didn't show up, but no one was strong-armed to be here. We were so excited. We were nervous to be here. This was really exciting for us. We missed a team full of event to be here and couldn't care less because we wanted to be here. Because this is what we are passionate about. This is what is so, so important to us, whether we get along in our politics and our lifestyles or not. It's what we're passionate about. So it's about getting people that know how to connect with us, and getting that out there, and again, putting together all of these organizations and addressing who's doing what, where are the needs, where are the gaps, and taking it from there.
So part of the work I do in the environmental justice space is we try to shift more resources to frontline grassroots organizations that are doing the work every day, because money tends to trickle to large institutions and it doesn't go to frontline communities. And we have a participatory grant-making fund where we bring together community leaders to make decisions on where money should go, because they're the ones that are on the ground interacting with the community. So that, as far as a solution, something that I'm just thinking of is just making sure that we have real people at the decision-making table when it comes to resources. And if that means getting together all of the organizations that are servicing women and girls, how can we make it easier for them to access the funding that they need? Why do we have to continue to, be a hamster on the wheel chasing the same pot of money? How can we work as a coalition and potentially get a larger grant that can be trickled to the communities that need it? So that's just an idea that, from my experience, I think that could happen. I'm not sure.
All great ideas, and I'm glad that these are being brought up right now. For those of you who don't know, the city, through our health department, actually has a model that we can follow. A number of years ago, we were awarded a grant from Robert Wood Johnson to be one of the healthier cities across the United States. Jersey City was the first cohort. I was part of that cohort. When we got together as a group, we realized what was happening is exactly what we're talking about right now. A lot of people out there doing the work. How do we break down those silos? So we identified 5 areas. I'll be really quick, I promise. But the long and short of it was we created a database, and we gave groups mini grants if 3 of them got together to collaborate on a project. And so that model is already there. We can take people who have already registered. If you've not registered to it, go to Healthier JC. You can put your organization there. That's where other people go for resources. I think part of the issue too is that we don't have a local media, right? Meaning we're not our own local market, even though we probably should be. So the way that information is pushed out is often diffused. It's whether you get it on Twitter, Instagram, your local cable station, you read the Jersey Journal, you're on Reddit. Like, there's no one way to do it. And so I think that also having that network and that space to put it together is a really good idea, because that, I know, for me, even just pushing information out is challenging, because I know that there are people that are not getting it, even if I do it 7 different ways. But there is actually a model already there talking about all of the ideas that all these women up here have suggested. And I think that with the Women's Commission, sitting down and like taking a look at how that was put together would be really helpful, because we did an RFP to create the database and to create a way and a website that was specifically dedicated to that. So some of the work is already being done. It's just getting it all connected.
Thank you, everyone, for sticking around. I know it is way past our curfew, but this has been really wonderful. I think we can all agree that this is exactly the space that we need. These are the conversations we need to be having, and you'll all be happy to know that this is the first of many that we will be hosting. We hope to have all of you back. We hope that you felt it was equally as constructive. And that we can continue to have maybe more focused town halls where we can really dive into issues the way that I think we all wanted to. This was just the first. We just wanted to hear, and we still want to hear from you. So, you can now find us. We have a website, jerseycitywomen.org. We have an Instagram. We have a Facebook. We have an email. Just come find us. Tell us what you want to hear. What do you want to talk about? What questions do you have? And then let's keep this conversation going, because even just in this last question, I heard some incredible ideas that we were just jotting down aggressively, and I want to keep that going. So thank you, everyone, for your time. I'm going to give it to Aiko, but thank you, everyone.
So in closing, again, I just want to reaffirm how phenomenal women you are. All of you, really, for different reasons, for different ideologies, for different philosophies. The fact that you all came here together today and really just were determined to show what women unified for this panel look like, it's really just so phenomenal. And I just want to say how incredibly grateful I am to all of you for affording me this time, for giving me this great privilege of asking you all questions, of sharing them with this audience, and really raising the bar for women in Jersey City. So Mo Kimberg, Amy DeGise, Gina Vertobello, Kristen Zadroga Hart, Danielle Frede, Denise Ridley, Mira Prinzari, Joyce Waterman, Nuemi Velazquez, and June Jones. I think she just stepped out, but really want to say thank you so much. I hope that you will join us again. And next time, it would be great just to hear, we'll talk about next time. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And if you want to stick around and chat, we have this beautiful patio. Feel free to engage. And if you have to run home and go to bed, do that as well.